Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. On October 21st at the Monroe County Board of Health meeting, Vice Provost for External Relations for IU Bloomington, Kirk White, shared the effect football games and Hoosier hysteria have had on the rates of COVID-19 in Monroe County.
We were concerned about that, and we've been looking closely because the good part is it's an outdoor event, but yet people are pretty close in the stadium. So we were watching after the first couple of home games whether we would see an uptick, and we really haven't. We thought we might also see an uptick after Hoosier hysteria being an indoor event. But of course, that has the mask requirement, which we appreciate. And though it's sometimes hard to disseminate whether people are eating popcorn or drinking a Coke and have their mask down or not, our event staff has been pretty diligent about trying to keep that enforced, and we remind people as they come into the facility at Assembly Hall. But the mask requirement has really been helpful for us, I think, indoors. We've not seen an uptick in any of our numbers, either after the football games or after Hoosier hysteria. But we also have to remember those bring in large populations from outside the community too. And as you all know, when that happens, we have to work pretty hard at reminding people that Monroe County has that mask mandate. And they've been fairly respectful about it, but some people just aren't used to it because in other parts of the state, they're not thinking about it in the same cautious way that we are.
White also said that the students and faculty feel safer in the classroom environment with the mask requirement. Health Director Penny Caudill shared that the Vital Statistics Division had been receiving multiple calls a day concerning confusion about how to receive birth certificates.
Vital record staff met with the baby unit at IU Health to really talk about some of the challenges. Some of the new parents seem very confused about how to get their birth certificate and those kinds of things. So we met with them to do just a little bit of problem solving and have a discussion between us about what their process was, what our process is, and then how we could improve. And one of the things that we did was develop a brochure that they could give at the hospital to all the new parents. And that has been printed. They've been using that. And the Vital Record staff has reported that they really are seeing fewer calls.
Vice President of Operations at Security Pro 24/7, Aaron Waltz, shared that the Department of Health's complaint inspections have been productive overall.
Some of the complaint inspections, some of the things we're seeing is a lot of times when we go out on the complaint inspections that we get from the health department, once we work with them, we see a lot of corrective actions. I would say that most of them, not all of them, but most of them do take the corrective actions that we recommend, that we encourage them to take, whether it be signage, whether it be mask. I know we've handed out masks to certain businesses that say they can't afford it. So the businesses themselves are taking the proper actions to correct those things. Customers are kind of hit and miss. Obviously, like Mr. White said, with IU, you get some that come from different areas and different places throughout the state, and they don't understand that we do have a mask mandate. So a lot of the businesses have done a really good job at reminding folks to put the mask on, wear the mask when inside, when moving about the restaurant, if not eating or drinking. So we're seeing a lot of good things.
The next Board of Health meeting will be on November 18th. At the Bloomington City Council meeting on October 20th, Public Works Director Adam Wason gave an update on the Sanitation Department. He said that in January, they started using a new software called Routeware to help monitor waste pickup more efficiently.
So throughout the day, we're able to track where our trucks are throughout the city, how long it's taking to complete their routes, how many miles they're driving, amount of idle time, all sorts of different aspects of tracking the drivers on their routes to know where how much progress is being made throughout the day. There's also route management. There's a work order system. So if we have, say, a breakdown or a call in that says recycling was missed at 301 South Smith, we can put a work order in and send that out to a truck on the routes. We have different reporting and route maker options that happy to run any of the council members through all the back office capabilities at their convenience. One of the great programs that we've got, and we've actually just reinstalled some new cameras that are higher definition. So each truck has a camera on it that will take pictures as needed. So if we pull up to a home and there's no carts out, we'll snap a quick picture to know that they weren't participating that day. We'll also take a picture if there's trash overflowing or the lids are open or they're too close to a vehicle to be picked up, amongst many other things. So that's just one of the nice background parts of the program as well.
He reported that there has been an increase in recycling and solid waste since the start of the pandemic, which he attributed to residents spending more time at home as well as food delivery services becoming more popular. Director of Economic and Sustainable Development, Alex Crowley, and Assistant Director of Sustainability, Lauren Clemens, gave a climate and sustainability progress report. Clemens shared Bloomington's energy and emission-related goals.
Bloomington's community goal in the 2021 Climate Action Plan is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions an additional 25% by 2030, with the objective of net zero or no additional emissions by 2050. The sectors that primarily contribute to creating emissions include buildings and energy, transportation, and waste sectors, as seen on this diagram. The building and energy sector refers to the production, transmission, and use of electricity and natural gas to heat and cool residential, commercial, and industrial buildings. The Climate Action Plan states that 81% of the total greenhouse gas emissions that must be reduced by 2030 as a community must result from electricity and natural gas consumption decreases from all sources. One way to do this is to replace traditional energy sources with renewable energy sources, such as solar, as well as improving energy efficiency. It took almost 10 years for Monroe County to reach 1 megawatt of solar capacity. We are now up to 8 megawatts with a 35% growth since 2018. After 4 months of slowed solar activity in mid-2020, solar permitting and installations have picked up again in 2021, and now there are now over 600 installations across the county.
She also reported that transportation sector emissions decreased by 20% in 2020 due to pandemic-related impacts. However, COVID-19 has led to fewer people taking public transportation, and emissions have increased in 2021. Councilmember Sue Scambaluri asked Clemens and Crowley how to collaborate with surrounding communities on this global issue.
I especially appreciate your comments about the potential. First, you're observing that climate response is not just a local issue, it's a regional issue, it's a national issue. And I'd be interested in your take on opportunities for collaboration with our regional colleagues, and in particular, our county colleagues. We have talked about that on and off over time, but where are the real opportunities? Where is the low-hanging fruit, if you will? If you had to ask us to focus anywhere in particular in collaboration with county, where might it be?
The next City Council meeting will be a special session held on October 27th. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
Let's talk about sex.
What is consent?
And what's not?
Consent is based on choice.
Consent is active, not passive.
Consent is giving permission without feeling pressure.
What is not consent?
Silence.
Passed out.
Intoxicated.
Fear.
Is
not consent.
Got consent?
Ask.
Sex without consent is a crime. Only yes means yes.
Welcome back to Cats Week. At the Monroe County Board of Commissioners meeting on October 20th, Commissioner Lee Jones gave an apology to County Clerk Nicole Brown for a misunderstanding that occurred during a meeting between the Election Board and the County Commissioners on October 18th.
I want to very sincerely apologize for an extremely unfortunate incident which occurred during Monday's meeting with the Election Board. In particular, I want to offer my most sincere apology to Clerk Brown, for whom I have great respect. Beyond that, I would like to apologize to the entire community for what I can clearly see look like extreme disrespect.
She said that tensions between the commissioners and the election board have been high recently, and she understood why her actions were perceived as disrespectful. She explained that she was talking to her cat, who had climbed on top of her computer, but she was sorry for any interpretations that came across as contemptuous. Later in the meeting, Commissioners Administrator Angie Purdy presented the Heading Home 2021 letter of support.
This is a letter of support for you guys, for United Way and the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County. And this is an agreement that, much like the dissolution of the per diem fund, this is going to require signatures from both the Board of Commissioners and the County Council. Because we're talking about the use of the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. And what this letter does is states that you are committing $1.2 million to be used specifically for programming and expenses incurred prior to January 1st, 2024 for this project that is addressing homelessness within our community.
Commissioner Penny Giffens said that the fund would be a preventative measure to help address homelessness in Monroe County.
This is not just to help people who are homeless, but also to prevent homelessness. We truly, the motto within the Heading Home step is to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-repeating. So we really do want to prevent homelessness as much as possible.
Commissioner Julie Thomas added that the fund would help with the things like down payments, securing mortgages, and to serve as a bridge to get people out of poverty and homelessness. The commissioners unanimously voted to approve the Heading Home 2021 letter of support. On October 20th, at the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting, Director Marilyn Wood updated the board on the library's in-person programming.
People are returning to in-person programming, and that has been very popular. Folks are really excited, particularly to be able to bring their children to what they consider to be a pretty welcoming and safe place right now.
Finance Manager Gary Letelier introduced the 2022 library budget to the board and explained the spending portion of the budget.
So tonight we have the final step of the budget process, which is the approval of the adoption form. The first column on the adoption form is the spending budget for each of the library's funds, and the total spending budget for 2022 is $12,272,959. The second column is the budgeted revenue from the operating fund tax levy and the debt fund tax levy. The operating fund levy is about $7 million, and the debt levy is about $720,000. The third column is the tax rate. The combined operating fund and debt fund tax rate for 2022 is 9.25 cents per $100 of assessed value.
The board unanimously approved the adoption of the 2022 budget. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
I will not be another statistic.
I will fight for myself.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc.
Welcome back to CATSweek. On October 19th at the Bloomington Board of Public Safety meeting, Chief Mike Dekoff of the Bloomington Police Department updated the board on how the National Police Social Worker Conference was going.
Tomorrow will be day 3 and the final day of the National Police Social Worker Conference. Ryan and I have both been over there along with the chief, and Scott Oldham presented as well. But that room, I tell you, even though these are some of the nicer days that we've had this fall, everyone continues to be engaged, and it seems like everyone has stayed in the building rather than going out and deciding to take a walk and explore Bloomington during the time of the conference. So I'm very encouraged by all of the questions and the interest that people have in this. I think at this point, I would have to say that it's a great success, and we hope that we can continue to build on it. So it's just going very, very well.
He also commented that it is budget season and they will be paying attention to the council's decision on the police budget for 2022, and said, quote, "We will certainly take what we get," end quote. At the Monroe County budget hearing on October 19th, the County Council adopted the 2022 budget. County Council member Kate Wiltz gave an overview of the budget's prices and any changes made since it was proposed.
To reiterate, the Council approved an increase to the General Fund Council budget in the amount of $51,944 on Monday, October 18th, 2021. The revised budget for Fund 0101 General Fund is $40,832,210. The adopted tax levy is $20,959,932, and the adopted tax rate is 25.07 cents.
Councilmember Jeff McKim highlighted a few aspects of the budget he thought the public should be aware of. He noted that council funding often goes on behind the scenes and wanted the public to have an understanding of what this budget does for them.
So we're voting on an $87 million budget, and the vast majority of it, this is really meant for the public. The vast majority of it consists of basic county services that most people don't even notice unless something's not working. County highways, the justice system, the process of property assessment and tax collection, stuff that isn't very exciting, but is absolutely essential to our quality of life here. And I know each of us on the county council undoubtedly looks through this budget through a different lens. And I just wanted to kind of quickly highlight a couple of items that this budget includes that I think are worthy of note, and that I think just kind of shows the vast, spread of things that county government is responsible for. And each of you might have your own items that you take particular notice of in this budget that you may be in favor of or you may be against. But just, some of the things that are notable to me: a 4.3% increase for Stone Belt, Life Designs, and Centerstone. Increases in the cost of management of the Justice Building in order to provide the contract employees a living wage. $70,000 increase in the coroner's office for autopsies, things that we do that aren't always fun, but are absolutely necessary. $30,000 investment in a partnership with the BEDC to continue to foster development of local economy, an additional shift of mental health services at the jail, additional investments in county parks, including hourly staff support, replacement of 30-year-old soccer goals that are falling apart, funding of a 5-year master plan that's necessary to continue to be able to receive grants, and upgrades to a maintenance building that allow our parks equipment to actually be stored securely. Also, asphalt crack sealing on the Vernal Pike Greenway and other maintenance on our greenways, resulting from the freeze-thaw cycle that's just something that we all live with in Indiana. Fully funding the changes that we made last year in the merit deputies contract and raising the salaries of our county police officers to be competitive in the region, and fully funding the educational incentives for merit deputies.
Councilmember Marty Hawk said that she supported many parts of the budget. However, she does not agree with all of them, so she plans to vote against the budget.
I have fully supported and advocated for, not all,
but just about all. And while I support that, I made it clear that I would not be able, because the way the state has us set up, we vote either on the whole thing up or down. And if there is something there that you simply cannot support, then you have to vote it down. And I've done that before. I did that when I was very much against the purchase of the quarry property. And so for those reasons, and to be very clear, there's money in the county coffers to pay, to provide these $3 million worth of capital items. And indeed, because it's in that rainy day fund, it's anticipated to have at least $8 million left at the end of the year. Those funds really should be used for capital items or one-time type expense, simply because you cannot count on that to make payroll. You can't count on that because it's not replenished. We cannot count on it being replenished as it has in the past. And so for those reasons, I just don't want to go to the public and tell them we don't have the $3 million to do these projects, and I cannot support that.
The council voted 6-1 to pass the budget for 2022. At the City of Bloomington Plan Commission meeting on October 18th, senior zoning planner Eric Grulich shared a design proposal for a 5-story housing project along the Beeline Trail and 8th Street.
So the petitioners would be proposing a new 5-story building. This would have all 5 floors being residential units, 2 units on the ground floor with some amenity space on the front along 8th Street. 18 parking spaces would be proposed underneath the building. There are 8 parking spaces that are just to the south of this, that are between this and the Johnson Creamery building that would also be remaining. So there would be 26 parking spaces for the 60 dwelling units and 74 bedrooms that are proposed.
Grulich said that the Board of Zoning Appeals will have to approve of this design as well, since the project is not able to meet the build-to line due to an existing water culvert in the ground.
There is one aspect of the building design that does not meet the current zoning code requirements, and that is in regards to the amount of the building that is at the build-to line. So within this overlay district, the UDO requires that 70% of the building be at the build-to line. So the build-to line at this area here is between 0 and 5 feet of the property line. And the petitioners, due to the underground culvert, are only able to have about 2% of the building at that line. If you go back and look at the location of the culvert, that basically almost completely separates this property from the 8th Street frontage, it's almost impossible to have any building face along 8th Street or even within the build-to line. So the petitioners have requested a separate variance from that aspect, and that will be heard at this week's Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. So this site plan is obviously contingent upon that variance being granted, but that would be the only aspect of this that does not meet our architectural requirements.
He said the petitioners are meeting other requirements to achieve the sustainable development incentives like solar panels, cool or vegetative roof, and reductions in parking. The board asked that they still set aside at least 1 parking space for ride sharing. The petitioner, Michael Cordaro, spoke to the board and said that he hopes they can start building by late spring or early summer next year. Commission member Brad Whistler pointed out that although he approves of the site plan, he does have concerns about flooding in the area.
I'll just say, yeah, that I agree. I think this is a good project. I would offer just one pushback on one point, which is that I don't think it's a safe conclusion that just because there's a building there won't be any water. If you've been in the lobby of the Johnson Creamery recently, you know that a building and pooled water can exist in the same place. So if there's a way to, improve the amount of inlet that's there along 8th Street, I think that would be wise.
The Plan Commission voted unanimously to approve this site plan. At the COVID-19 press conference on October 15th, Health Director Penny Caudill shared the Board of Health's recommendations for Halloween and spending the holidays with friends and family. She said it is important to get vaccinated now so that the vaccine can be effective in time for festivities.
If you want a more normal holiday with your family and friends, make sure that you are fully vaccinated. It does take about 2 weeks to build up the protection that you need, so vaccinate now. Make plans with safety in mind. It doesn't matter if we're talking Halloween, Christmas, Hanukkah, Thanksgiving, whatever it may be. Make your plans with safety in mind. If everyone is vaccinated, then you can take recommended precautions and your risks should be very low. Do watch community transmission and adjust your plans accordingly. The higher the transmission level in the community, the more precautions you want to have in place. With trick or treating, this is mainly an outside activity. Your community officials will set whether or not there's community trick or treating hours. But if you are looking for things that you can do with your family, just know that outside activities are what you want to do. Avoid crowds, being indoors with people who are unmasked, unvaccinated. Last year in our neighborhood, we did Halloween, we did it outside. It was great. We took lots of precautions and it was one of the best nights, one of the best trick-or-treating nights in my neighborhood that I've experienced. So it can be done safely, and it can still be very enjoyable.
President of IU Health, Brian Shockney, said that getting the seasonal flu shot in addition to the COVID-19 vaccine helps make the holiday season more safe.
We look forward to the downtrend as we continue to approach the holidays that we all love. Speaking of holidays, we don't want a scary holiday, as Penny Caudill said. What plans are you making to ensure safe holidays as we gather with friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers? You know the best way to prepare is to get vaccinated, not only for COVID-19, but now it's time for your seasonal flu shot. This in addition to ensuring we wear masks, practice excellent hand hygiene, and keep our physical distance when we're in close spaces with those not in our immediate family. Reducing the number of people becoming sick from the flu will help reduce the hospital admission rate. So we're seeing admissions with COVID, but we're also seeing admissions with flu.
Shockney added that the hospital is still struggling to schedule the surgeries that had to be postponed due to the latest surge. He said that this surge has been more aggressive than the others and resulted in more individuals being hospitalized.
Our patients who have COVID with this Delta variant are sicker and their lengths of stay are longer than what we saw previously. So where we would have patients previously in previous surges who would discharge quicker or would have less lengths of stay, we're seeing a longer length of stay with many of our patients in this surge. So that's keeping patients in the hospital. And then we're also seeing a higher number of patients who are coming to us, even though we see lower rates because of this Delta variant being so aggressive to our patients, specifically those who are immunocompromised or have other comorbidities. And so it really does affect the human body in a way much more severely than the previous variant.
And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.